What's going on, everybody? This is the Armchair Crew Chief, and my name is Jordan. You guys just have me today on this podcast. It's been a very busy week, so Rebecca has not been paying too much attention, and she'd rather just step out for this one and just let me handle it. So let's go ahead and dive into everything. We were at Talladega this past weekend, and some pluses and some minuses I'm going to say about it. I know we talk about it a lot, but this one had some off-track frustrations from a lot of people, especially at the track. And then we also had, racing frustrations just by how the cars were going around, just trying to watch it. Good grief. It was rough, in my opinion, on sometimes. I was able to watch Xfinity race, and then I was following the Cup race and watching some of the highlights from afterwards. I had a wedding to go to on Sunday, so let's just go ahead and dive into it as we normally do to get our information out there. So qualifying for Xfinity, we had our top five: Sammy Smith, Cole Custer, Parker Kligerman, Jesse Love, and Austin Hill got the pole. This is another one of those that everybody thought, Austin Hill won the last two drafting track races this year. Is he going to do it again? And, he's a RCR. RCR can't get out of their own way in the Cup Series, but they've got it figured out in the Xfinity. So maybe that needs to tell them something. I don't know. Anyway, moving on. Our stage one finish, we had AJ Allmendinger 5th, Chandler Smith 4th, Austin Hill 3rd, Parker Kligerman 2nd, and Jesse Love 1st. One thing with these drafting track races, they're going to be jockeying back and forth a lot, and you had some people short pitting and all that. It was pretty rough for Allgaier to start off. He looked like he had a pretty good car. He was starting to move around some. But he got into an incident with Riley Hurst, and man, he hit the wall hard, the inside wall. It was bad. The impact lifted his car off the track. It was wild to watch. And so, we had that. That was pretty much our caution until about we were in stage 2. So it was almost like we had a caution every stage. And then, towards the end, I stand corrected. You had stage 1 end, then stage 2 ended, and then stage 3. Stage 3 is where everything happens. Everybody starts getting antsy and start moving around and going crazy. And so that's what happened there. Going into stage 2, at the end of that, our top 5, Brandon Jones, Ryan Sieg, AJ Allmendinger, Jesse Love, and Austin Hill. Again, RCR up there. And so it wasn't nothing new to see. It brought a lot of people up towards the end of the race on how things handled and were handled. We had quite a few cautions after that. So we had a total of 6 cautions, including a stage end. But after that, we had Sam Mayer, Brandon Jones, Allmendinger, Truex, Matt DiBenedetto, Leland Honeyman, Parker Kligerman, Jeremy Clements, Kyle Weatherman. They all had their accident. Matty D got through. I believe Allmendinger got through. But it ended the day for Kligerman, and Weatherman had an issue. That one was somewhat of the big one that you would see moving forward. We had our generic debris on the backstretch caution. And then we had Anthony Alfredo, who looked like he had a fast car. He did really well also in Cup Series too, when we talk about it. Alfredo, Emmerling, Gray, Austin Hill, Jeb Burton, Jordan Anderson, Parker Kligerman, David Starr, they all got into an incident on lap 113. This is the one that took Austin Hill out. It looked like he just kind of lost it and got caught sideways, and then collected some people, if I remember correctly. Then again, some of these guys going out there having multiple, Parker Kligerman's one. He's gotten into these incidences, and then he gets into another one. Jesse Love, Josh Williams, Sheldon Creed, and Parker had an incident. And then towards the end, at the end of the race, Ryan Ellis and Riley Hurst had it. But, I mean, it was, at the end, you had some people up there that finally made their way up there, and it looked good. I had some high hopes for a couple of the drivers on one of those restarts. It was Hailie Deegan. She was running up there. I think it was top 5, actually. I think she might have been running 4th. And she got up there, and I don't know what it is, and we'll talk about it after. Let's go ahead and go over who won this race, and then I'm going to go a little bit more into that one, because I feel it's a lot of, I don't know what the right word to say is, but I think there's some funny business going on. Just, tinfoil hatting it a little bit, but also just what we've seen and how people treat some of these other drivers. But anyway, let's go in. Top 5, where we'll go top 10. Cole Custer 10th, Jeb Burton 9th. He did pretty good going up there. He did, he was staying in the back for the most part, but he did handle his own, I would have to say. Matty D up there, he finished 8th. This is career highest. He also led 1 lap. Cesar Baccarella running 7th. Sheldon Creed 6th. Brennan Poole 5th. Leland Honeyman 4th. Anthony Alfredo 3rd. Riley Hurst 2nd. Jesse Love got the win. He got his first win as a rookie in the Xfinity Series. And, I really wanted Riley Hurst to win, but it is what it is. Jesse Love seems to be a pretty good guy. I'm going to hold it a little bit against him because he runs for RCR. He led 28 laps. Riley Hurst led 13. Ryan Sieg led 7. I had a high hope for him. That dude, he was running really well. Once again, after coming off that crazy finish, last weekend, at Texas, he did, my goodness, he was doing well. The only reason he finished 17th was because he got a flat tire, and he had to come in a pit, and he went down a lap, and then gained it back, and boom, that's where he is. So I see positivity coming from Ryan Sieg. I would love for Ryan Sieg to bust that bubble in Xfinity for this year and lead Ford to their first win for 24. That would be awesome. He actually won the Dash for Cash as well, because it was him, it was Sieg, Allmendinger, and we had Sammy Smith, not Sammy Smith. I know we had Allgaier and Sam Mayer, They were the ones running for the Dash for Cash. And, Allgaier and Mayer got knocked out. So it was up to Dinger, and it was up to Ryan Sieg. So that's cool for him. I hope that, I know that mostly goes to the driver, but that'd be kind of cool to see it go to some of the other team, to the team to build, to get better. I see nothing but positivity going forward with that. Same thing with SVG. He finished 22nd. This is his, 3rd drafting track race. So, kudos to him for running that and moving on. So that was that. So what I was getting at with Hailie Deegan restarted up higher, and nobody wanted to go with her. Like, Riley Hurst had a run, and these are 2 Fords, so you can't pull the, it's a Chevrolet and a Ford. Manufacturers don't run well together at drafting tracks. No, she was going, and he just got out of line and just dropped her like a rock, like a bad habit. And, I mean, we've heard it said sometimes, even on radios and stuff, that they don't want to push a woman. They think a woman shouldn't be racing. And, if Hailie's got the talent to do it, the same thing with, like Tony Brettinger, Natalie Decker, these ladies, shoot, they can drive better than us listening to this podcast if they're out there racing. Now, I know some of it's got to be with money too, but still, they're out there running and they're competing and they're doing it. And so Hailie handled herself. She didn't wreck anybody. She could have pulled up and caused a huge wreck trying to get, block Riley. And Riley just left her like a bad habit. And I think that's wrong. She's had that a lot. She got into incidences with Dean Thompson last year about, she can't drive. I think she can drive. I think she's finally coming into it. I still don't think this is her strong suit, running, these type of races. I think she's more suited for dirt. But she's proving me wrong, and I'll say that. I'll be the first to say that. She's proving me wrong on how she can handle herself, especially after getting out of the truck. Whoever, the truck series and her team that she had before this past, before who was it? Thor Sport. Before Thor Sport, in my opinion, I'm drawing a blank on who it was, but I feel like they ruined her. Then they had TJ Majors as a spotter, and listening to him, it sounds like they were babying her. Like it was bad. Instead of just letting it go, full out like you would with some of these other guys, and they were just, hold on. It was poor strategy, poor everything. So hopefully she can keep coming around and keep proving people like me wrong about her. But that was the big point of frustration with the Xfinity race that I saw. It was like, Riley, come on. And, people were seeing it with Shane Van Gisbergen because he is, he's running Colleague cars, but he's a Trackhouse driver. So, and you can see it in his numbering. Come on now. I mean, it's a Colleague's funding that car, but how much money are they getting from Trackhouse to run SVG? So it's also, I think he's also getting that. It's these people that have this junk stuck in their head about, like, Melon Man bad, and then they go out, and some of these drivers are like, Ross, it's like, come on, you guys ran like this back in the day. We've said it before. I have a problem with some of this nonsense with that, because it's like you're judging a person they drive for. It's like me going after Kyle Busch, who I'm starting, he's been growing on me, but like, I don't like him because he runs for RCR, and so does Austin Dillon. I can't stand Austin Dillon. Or I'm not a big Bubba Wallace fan, so I can't stand Tyler Reddick. That nonsense. Come on now, guys. This is really silly. But let's move on to the Cup Series race. Cup Series was, I would say, a snoozer for the most part, and I'll say the reason why. But there's a reason why later on. But let's go ahead and go on to our top 5 in qualifying. We had Austin Dillon 5th, Kyle Busch 4th, Gilliland, Cindric, and McDowell. So Fords, once again, on drafting tracks, they can qualify. RCR drafting tracks can qualify, and they can't. Ford did pretty decent, but that was also with the jockeying with pitting, but they can't do anything after that. So, once the field got shuffled around, 5th you had Kyle Busch, and this is stage 1. 4th Blaney, 3rd Byron, 2nd was Elliott, and Cindric got the stage win. Moving on to stage 2, again, the Fords, they're just not there at the end. Ross Chastain 5th, Austin Dillon 4th, Larson 3rd, Cindric 2nd, Logano 1st. And I think a lot of this also has to do with the fact of how the pit strategies were, because some of these, and it was pretty funny. They didn't call any of these penalties. There was no cautions for this. But Denny Hamlin, it's like every time he went into pit road, he spun out. He essentially, if he was closer to the wall, if this was a lot smaller of a pit road, he would have wrecked like 3 times. And that was pretty interesting. Now, getting to what I was talking about with it being a little bit of a snoozer, the thing that I did not like about this was they ended up running about half throttle to quote-unquote save fuel. They did this at Daytona, and Daytona was a snooze fest for the most part. It's getting stupid that they're doing this to save fuel because these tires are lasting so long. I complain about the tires at Bristol. I think they need to find something in between Bristol and what they're running elsewhere, because these tires are lasting way too long for them to not be able to come in, and they're going fuel only pits. That's what the stage 1 was, fuel only pits, and it's ridiculous. You change the tires. Let's get going. Let's make this thing more interesting. Somebody had mentioned, why don't we do like a intermediate and hard tire? I think that might get confusing for NASCAR, but something needs to happen. Something needs to be reevaluated. We've talked till we're blue in the face about how poor this car handles everywhere, pretty much, except, there's a couple tracks it does well, but I still think it stinks everywhere. Your drafting track, you have saving fuel, and then you have your short tracks, which are just horrendous. And we wanted to throw shade at the tracks, and then people finally woke up and realized that it's the car, because they could care less about Richmond. They didn't want to get rid of Martinsville, and they popped up, and Martinsville stunk. I was there. That was a horrible race. And now we're looking at the car and the packages on the car. I think it was Dale Jr. said, everybody's sitting here complaining about the tracks. There ain't nothing wrong with the tracks. It's the car and the handling of it. And he's like, I've been saying this for over a year now. And everybody does that. It's either NASCAR is turned to blinders. And I saw somebody say something about this. It's something totally different this morning when I was looking at social media. That, they went off and claimed that the most popular vote was rigged. I don't even want to go down that road. I don't know. I don't really care. You already know Chase Elliott's going to win it in the Cup Series. That's just hands down what's going to happen. And I think it's because it's his daddy. I mean, he's a decent driver. He's shown he has been kind of off of it ever since he broke his leg. He's been off of it a little bit before that too. But I think the reason, just like Dale Jr., I really like Dale Jr., but I think the reason he won most popular for the most part was because of his daddy. And he's popular now with it, and he gets to voice his opinion. So, I'm not going to knock him on that. Kudos to them, because they're using, what God provided them and where God placed them. So, but other people put, they're rigging this, they're rigging that, or, they want to listen to the question was with most popular, should it be fan base votes or should it be social media presence? And somebody came out and said social media is kind of a crock, because NASCAR will listen to them when it's something like most popular driver, but when it comes to criticism on the track, they don't want to hear it. And I get it. I understand that. So, I don't know. It's very interesting. So let's go ahead and go over our cautions. We only had 4 cautions. That includes our end-of-stage cautions as well. So getting into it, as I said, Hamlin spun and got into John Hunter. That was their first pits, lap 43. Then LaJoie spun on the exit pit road. Those 2 incidences did not cause cautions. So our first, caution for cause, as it's to be said, Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, Chase Briscoe, Christopher Bell, Justin Haley, Zane Smith, they all got into it. And, their cars got, if I remember correctly, I saw seatbelts, and it was pretty rough looking. That was and then we go into Denny Hamlin, Bubba Wallace, John Hunter Nemechek, Eric Jones. That was a bad one. Eric Jones had to he got released from infield care, and then they ended up taking him to the hospital afterwards. That one was rough. And it looked like, it was hard to tell. It seemed like Eric Jones got squirrely, and they were falling behind Tyler Reddick. So this was up and towards the lead. You're looking at all Toyotas pretty much. I think Truex was behind him too. I don't know how he didn't get. No, excuse me. I don't think Truex was there. I think he got in there later, but I think something happened with air. It was either Eric Jones got sideways, they were moving, and he lost a little bit of the air, and then the way Bubba was coming up. So, I mean, this is a racing incident. I'm not even blaming Bubba. It's just the way Bubba was coming up. The air changing on the cars just caused it, boom. And you could see it in the Xfinity race. I was watching, I think it was Austin Hill. He sat there, and it looked like, you're playing a video game, and you're just swirling back and forth because he was trying to hold on to the car, and the car didn't want to be held on to. And then the last crash, this one, I don't even want to blame it to him, but it's just so convenient that it was Keselowski ended up. So McDowell was leading the race. Keselowski was coming, and McDowell dropped down the block. Keselowski coming. I think it might have been air, or he just barely touched him. Got him sideways, got McDowell sideways. Caused a huge wreck. This was the big one. You had Ross Chastain in it. He bumped, Austin Cindric, Josh Berry, Kyle Larson. Josh Berry took a brunt of it. Corey LaJoie finished a race on his side. That was wild. And just watching the in-car camera on that one, Keselowski, Truex, Logano, McDowell, Ryan Preece, Bowman, and Suarez were all in this incident. And a lot of these, like Truex got out with it pretty good. I don't think anything happened too much to Chastain. I think Truex would have actually done better if Chastain didn't come up. I don't know why Chastain. I guess he came up and bumped Truex out, and then he got caught and slowed down. Some of these other guys, I think Corey LaJoie had the brunt of it. Now, you had a couple of these guys where the hood just came up on it, and they couldn't see nothing. Similar to what happened with Eric Jones and his incident. I mean, Eric Jones's hood came up, the airbox portion was up, was like stuck to the hood. I mean, this thing was wild. If you go on socials, you got to watch the in-car camera for Corey, because he literally, like, he ended up. It's like if you see these acrobat people that like roll on the back of the person that's leaning over and then land. So Corey was going down. He got caught in it and got smushed up against the wall, but the force lifted him up. He actually went on the hood, on the roof of Larson, and then dropped on his side and slid through and then rolled over after the start finish. I mean, it was wild. I'm glad to hear that, these guys are okay. As I was saying, Eric Jones had to go to the hospital. He went to the hospital. He got released and everything's fine with that. He's doing okay. So to finish our race, our top 5 were Alex Bowman, Ricky Stenhouse, Noah Gragson, Keselowski, and Reddick. This is the second time Keselowski's found himself in second. It's good to see Reddick win it. He was up there. He led 13 laps. He was up there for a lot, hanging it and mixing it. Like I said, honestly, I think if Chastain wouldn't have moved up, and I wasn't paying too much to him, so I don't know if people were just slowing down. He was trying to get away, but he bumped Truex out and put him out in the open, and that kind of slowed him down. But it still didn't hurt a lot of these people. We had, Alfredo 6th. He had a top 10 finish both races. So, I mean, he did really well this weekend. Gillen up there, I mean, front row is hanging with the big boys, if you want to put it that way. Truex 11th. Chastain 13th. Josh Berry 16th. He got a pretty hard hit on that one. LaJoie finished 18th, again on his side. It was wild. Gibbs led a lap. He's won, not too much happened with him with that. So that was watching the end of it. But I don't want to see people just. I think Kyle Busch tweeted out. He's like, you stay in line and you finish where you're sitting, or you throw a block and you wreck the whole field and you don't finish. And I saw something and I can't recall what it was, but Bubba Wallace, he ended a streak of nearly a year. Maybe it was DNFs of not having a DNF or something like that. Of running clean, about as clean as one can. So. Yeah, it was wild. It was a wild ending. The thing that I hated was everybody wanted to run, 60% throttle, half throttle, for most of the race because they wanted to save fuel. Again, change the tires. Goodyear, NASCAR, get together, change these tires, put a compound that's going to wear away quicker. I mean, good grief. If you can get tire changes, and the amount of tires, listening to Denny Hamlin, how much money like Joe Gibbs has hung up on tires that they don't use, and they, Goodyear doesn't take it back and melt it down and reuse them. That's what I would try to do. Let's be green. We're coming off of Earth Day. Let's put our green on and do that. And so I don't know. It was. It was an interesting race. Again, I think that it was a snooze fest for the most part because everybody's just running in packs, back and forth, shuffling. You had a couple 3 wides, but it was mostly, you'd have some guys that moved around. You had more passing, though, than you would at a short track because it's larger and you can move around, and you had 2 lines for the most part going, sometimes 3. A short track, you can't do that. You can't pass anybody. So, and guess where we're going this weekend? A short track. So let's go ahead and dive into our standings here, and then I'll tell you about something else that popped up that caused some angst to the fan base / spotters and so on. So looking at it here, our top 5, Reddick is 5th, and these are driver standings, not win standings. Reddick's 5th. He jumped up 3 spots. Byron 4th, Elliott 3rd, Truex is 2nd, and Larson 1st. They did not change. Truex is 15 points behind Larson, Elliott 22 points, which is pretty amazing because Larson, that they need to tell you, I mean, Larson has 1 DNF. He's led 531 laps. Truex has led 368 laps, Hamlin 399. But if you look at that, he has 5 stage wins, Larson. So it's very interesting on how this is going on because, you know, Truex hasn't gotten any poles. I don't think poles count for points anymore. But he's only 15 points out, and he's got 1 stage win to Larson's 5. Truex hasn't won a race. He's had 2 top 5s and 5 top 10s. So it's interesting to see how all this is panning out. Again, this is pretty early because we're only into a few of the races. So we'll see what happens. Excuse me. Moving on, let's go ahead and talk about our I can't talk. Our lineups so Truck is not running at Dover this weekend. So let's go ahead and look at what we got going on. Sam Mayer's running NASCAR Refuel. Trying to look at any of these different. Troopers United Foundation is Dawson Cram. Race to Stop Suicide, Daniel Dye. And move on. We got Ryan Truex back in the car. See if he can repeat what he did last year. See what the Truex boys can repeat what they did last year. With it being, what they did. They swept over last year. That was pretty wild. That was pretty fun. He's running Toyota Gazoo Racing again. I'm trying to see if we have anybody that comes out that hasn't raced, that has already told. I don't really see anybody sticking out that has shown up. Now some of these do change, so please bear that in mind. It looks like it's going to be kind of a fun race. Sheldon Creed still got friend of Jacqueline Foundation. Lee Fielder's running Dinger. SVG, let's see what he's got going on. He's running WeatherTech. We have Drive Sober, Arrive Alive, Delaware. That's Caden Honeycutt. So we'll see what happens here. I really do hope that Dover doesn't turn into a snooze fest like the other races. Let's keep going. Moving on to this is the one we all look forward to, or I look forward to, seeing what these sponsors are going to be. Chastain's running Moose Fraternity, so he's going to have the Moose car. Menards Quaker State is Austin Cindric. I don't like when he runs close to the same paint schemes that you see Blaney run. Then you have Brestree, once again, that's Cindric. Overstock is back on the car for Josh Berry. Good grief, Overstock and Stuart Haas. Way to confuse the snot out of people, out of your spotters. Hendrick Cars on Larson. Build Submarines on Keselowski. Gainbridge on Corey LaJoie. FICO's back on Kyle Busch. Napa's returning again for Chase Elliott. Miller Tech for Noah Gragson. Mavis is back on for JGR. And Denny Hamlin. Worth on Blaney. Mahindra is back with Briscoe. Grala's got N29 back in. They've sponsored quite a few. Action Industries is on AJ Allmendinger. He's going to be running the 16 Ford Cup Series as well. You got Fastenal Ford. That is Chris Buescher. Mr. Buescher. Bass Pro Shops back on Truex. Seabell's running Yahoo. Harrison Burton running Dex. Joe Logano's running his Shell. Xfinity Air Force for Bubba. Liberty University for Byron. Poppy Bank for Hemrick. They seem to stick with him. That's good that he's got somebody that runs with him a lot. The Pete Store. I'm curious to see what this one's going to look like for McDowell. A&W All-American Food for Gilliland. Priest is running Morton Buildings. Acme is John Hunter. That seems like I got a feeling that's going to be the Chick Hicks car because Acme, Safeway, they're pretty much the same. Eric Jones is running the Dollar Tree Petty 75th. McDonald's for Reddick. Hungry Jack, Pancakes for Stenhouse. Bowman's got Ally. Walmart Health and Wellness for Justin Haley. Monster Energy there for Ty Gibbs. Focused Health, Zane Smith. Host of ours got Premier Security. Jimmy Johnson's running Dover. That's kind of... We'll see what happens there. I don't think he's going to finish too well if he finishes the race. Dollar Tree, Family Dollar. And then Swerves is going to be running Jockey to see if he can outdo his teammate from last weekend. So those are your lineups there and your sponsors for that race. Check out Tyler Pinnell on TikTok. He gives a good, warning for language, but he gives a good paint scheme review and discusses them and shows them. But that one's pretty wild. It was pretty fun to watch. Before I get into our weekend schedule, I did want to pull up, I was talking about this earlier, the big non-racing event issue that we had was the scoring pylons. Scoring pylons were removed from Texas Motor Speedway and Talladega, and the way Talladega combated it was they put a top 6 on the back of the TV for people in the infield. And NASCAR came out and said, well, we think the fans are going to get more information on the TVs. Spotters were very frustrated about this, about not having the scoring pylon. Also, the way they didn't do like 20 to go, 15 to go, they just showed you your lap, 180 out of whatever, and so on. So that was a big frustration there. I heard something that, the scoring pylons, the companies that put them together were defunct and not there. You know what? Do like North Wilkesboro did. Go find you a new, go slap some LEDs on there, and they made it look old school. I think scoring pylons need to be there. I like watching them and looking at them. When we were at Pocono, they have one, and when we were in, moving around the pet paddock area and so on, we're sitting up there watching it because you can't really hear anything, can't see anything, you can't see the TV. In Pocono, they bring in TVs, so it's a little bit different than some of these other tracks that have permanent TVs. But still, you got to have scoring pylon. And somebody made a comment about, oh yeah, I'm trying to look at the back of the TV to see, how do I tell where my driver is? And I think it was Couch Racer. Somebody said, just tell your driver not to get below 6th place. That's all you got to do. So, this is silly. I hope NASCAR fixes this, and we'll go from there. So, moving on, as we said, we are moving into Dover this coming weekend. We have the ARCA Menards race on Friday, April 26th. We have qualifying for them at 1:40. Then we have Xfinity practice and qualifying 3 Eastern, 3:30 Eastern. That's going to be on FS2. No radio for that. And then we have the General Tire 150 at 5 p.m. Eastern on Friday. Moving Saturday, practice and qualifying for Cup Series 10:30, 11:20. FS1. PRN has the radio broadcast with SiriusXM carrying it. Qualifying 11:20. Then we have the Xfinity race, Bet Rivers 200 at 1:30 Eastern on FS1. And PRN's got that call. Moving over into Sunday, we have the Worth 400. It is at 2 Eastern on FS1. PRN and SiriusXM getting the call. So those are your information. I believe they changed the stuff, Talladega, so these are not set in stone. They move them around. 2 Eastern, though, for the Worth 400. So we're probably looking green flag 215 unless they push it down to 330 like they did. I think they pushed the other 4 o'clock for the race for the last, I think it was Saturday Xfinity race at Talladega. So just keep those in mind. Once again, guys, thanks for listening. I appreciate it. Hopefully Rebecca will be back on here next weekend or next time, because she does she brings good, interesting concepts and information onto this. So hope you guys have a great weekend. We'll see you guys next time. Don't forget to like, share in this, and I appreciate everything. And you guys take care.